Hello everyone, Ben Mahale here, state candidate for Bendigo East with Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. I'm actually at home today catching up on some paperwork and looking after Bob the One Nation Budgie, who's a little bit under the weather today, and decided to do a quick video update on something that I believe is quite important to all Victorians. Late last week, Monica Smith had her charges for incitement of violence dropped, which is both welcome and telling news considering the status of other such cases. COVID-related fines were the big stick that was wielded by our state government to ensure compliance, but as we've seen on many cases, more notably Zach from Chocolado and Buninyong in the south of Ballarat and Zoe Bueller, these charges were dropped very suddenly and without explanation. In fact, pretty much all cases that I've heard of have followed the same path. The court system continuously adjourns them to a later date and eventually withdraws all charges for those who have stood their ground. Now, the question to be asked is this: why is the government not going out of their way to make an example of these people? Well, the answer lies within the very law that has been utilised to charge them. The Public Health and Wellbeing Act of 2008, brought into the Parliament by then Health Minister Daniel Andrews. Now, the Act itself has some interesting sections contained within it that are quite relevant to these cases. So, for example, Section 117 talks about the creation of public health orders and how they must be issued to a person, not a group of people. Also citing other information required, such as that person must have been, at the very least, exposed to an infectious disease, amongst a number of other stipulations required to create a public health order. The entirety of Section 112 essentially states that the least restrictive measures are to be chosen, and Section 9 states that any action should be proportionate to the public health risk and should not be made or taken in an arbitrary manner. So, having a ring of steel, curfews, and even limiting the amount of time to get out and exercise would no doubt be considered disproportionate. And finally, Section 203(2) says that if you had a reasonable excuse to not comply with a direction, then you are not guilty of an offence. Now, besides the fact that you cannot issue a public health order to a group of people, it is around this section why courts are not willing to hear these cases, as it would then set a precedent. Now, provided everything was above board, was this government guilty of a knee-jerk reaction, or is it possible that they were trying to circumvent existing laws, both at state and federal level, purporting authority where they clearly had none in order to gain compliance? Because, after all, they did not like people speaking out against their authority, which is why these charges came about. As for today, One Nation will stand with Monica Smith to demand that this government acknowledges that they made serious errors during this time, and they start the healing process by cancelling all COVID-related fines and reimbursing those who have already paid them. And for those playing at home, it's a little thing called integrity, and it may look a little bit better for them once the inevitable Royal Commission gets underway. But that's it for myself. Just a quick update on my thoughts of the day. And as always, on November 26th, let's get Ben into Bendigo East, Ricky Lee Tyrrell into the upper house for Northern Victoria to give Victoria and Victorians the chance they need to both heal and prosper. Because after all, we are one people, we are one nation. Thank you. This video has been authorised by Ben Mahale, state candidate for Bendigo East for Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, Strathdale.